Right at the top of the hour. Once again, it is 10 o'clock. News Tonight is here to bring you what's making headlines. First, though, the headlines. Museveni pushes for space technology research with Russia. In Budu, the landslides kill 6. Government to scale down Heroes Meadows to 100. The international scene, Theresa May and Trump disagree on China. And in sports, a foreign offer from Pal Seeds boosts Royal Regatta. Welcome once again. My name is Patricia Lukom on Sign Language. We are joined by Mohammed Mogalo. Let's dig into the bulletin, starting off with the Presidential Press Unit, where President Yoweri Museveni has welcomed the idea of Russian-Ugandan Intergovernmental Commission on Economic, Science and Technological Cooperation, saying it will boost industrial development in the country through the use of space technology in carrying out research. President Museveni advised that efforts be put on research development in areas of mineral resources, environment, agriculture, land use, national parks, as well as developing local human capital and monitoring utility networks, among others. The Russian ambassador to Uganda, Alexander Poliakou, as well as Uganda's Minister for Science, Technology and Innovation, Elioda Tumwesije, and other government officials also attended the meeting, which was held at State House, Nakasero, yesterday. President Museveni also observed that the development of space science is fast advanced, saying the country needs this technology to help in other special areas like frontier border security monitoring. The president further advised that the space technology installation should also address the components of accuracy, capabilities in detecting minerals, and as also exhibit strong penetration through the clouds and forest canopies. Now, the First Lady and Minister of Education and Sports, Mrs. Janet Museveni, hailed the Christian Foundation of Heritage International School and the holistic education they provide to the children. The First Lady was officiating at the Heritage International School class of 2019 graduation ceremony in Kansanga, Kampala.
The education sector is in the business of developing human capital, which is the software for nation building, says the First Lady and Minister of Education and Sports, Janet Museveni.
The NRM government is very much aware of this truth, and the UPE and USE schools were set up to ensure that all children of Uganda find access to basic education.
While officiating at the graduation ceremony for Heritage International School class of 2019, the First Lady urged the founders of the school to reach out and instill the values they teach at their school to some others in the neighborhood. She congratulated the high school graduates, saying nations are looking to them to make a significant contribution.
You have achieved a dream that many long for. You have proved to yourselves that you can be a student who can achieve a goal that you have set yourselves. Starting at grade 1, you have progressed through till grade 12. You deserve a resounding applause.
Reverend Stevenson and his wife Colleen are some of the founders and board members of Heritage International School, which opened its doors to students 25 years ago. They are also involved in projects such as construction of wells, child sponsorship schools that target the vulnerable. The First Lady also opened the school's chapel and an education facility for young children up to 5 years of age. Remedios Simbonye, UBC News.
Now, the government has confirmed that at least 6 people have died in the landslides that occurred yesterday in Bududa. The Minister for Relief Disaster Preparedness, Hilary Onek, earlier today told journalists and that the team is still on ground trying to assess the situation.
On the 4th of June 2019, over 10 landslides occurred in Bududa district and have so far claimed 6 lives, government confirms.
At Buwali sub-county, Bugobero parish, where 1 person was killed. Bunamwamba parish, 4 people died. As a result, of those, 1 is adult female, age 73, 3 children, 1 boy and 2 girls. At Nalwanga sub-county, Bunango parish, 1 death occurred. It's a girl of 7 years of age.
17 people are nursing injuries arising from the catastrophe.
We hardly expect any missing persons because the assessment has so far covered 80% of the landslide affected areas, and all people in the areas covered have been accounted for.
A similar landslide claimed at least 46 lives last year, and at the time of this landslide reoccurring, government had already relocated over 472 people.
We have opted to build for them accommodation, make sure we have provided them with some provisions like what can make them settle down. And as you saw recently in the press, there are already some entered new houses which were built for them.
Government now focuses on reducing on the number of people settling in the hazardous areas of Bududa. However, it is still a challenge due to resistance of some residents.
Is that most of these people don't want to shift far away from Bugisu area. Like those we took to Kiradongo had resistance initially. But slowly now, some has come to accept because they are able to do the Embalu there and so on. There is no confusion. Their culture is not lost. They are only relocated with their culture wherever they are settled.
Government is in the process of relocating people from the hazardous places of Bududa. However, they will need up to 30,000 hectares of land to relocate at least 10,000 people every year. But the Minister for Relief Disaster Preparedness, Hilary Onek, says the 8 billion allocated for this entire exercise is just a drop in the ocean. Ivan Kahwa, UBC News.
Well, thank you very much there, Ivan Kahwa. May their souls rest in eternal peace. Now, the recently appointed boards of Uganda Broadcasting Corporation and Posta Uganda have been inaugurated. Minister for Information, Communication Technology and National Guidance, Frank Tumwebaze, presided over the occasion, urging that the members should be innovative.
It was that time for the recently appointed board members of Uganda Broadcasting Corporation and Uganda Post Limited to officially be inaugurated to start off duty of steering these organizations.
I swear that I will at all times.
Ahead of them is a task of enhancing the capacity of the institutions to effectively compete in this era driven by information communication technologies.
Clearly, we are in a society where there are no borders. And the society requires a lot of innovation, accountability in terms of explanation. People want to see visible things. Yes. So, and that's why this board, and this has been the guidance of our president, old people, middle-aged, young people, so that each brings in the interests of the constituency, of the demographic constituency he or she represents. So, I hope UBC will be able to move. So far, so good. We get a lot of compliments, but you still have a lot of work to do.
Drawn from varying sectors with skills and knowledge, the boards commit to have better performance.
And I acknowledge the challenges that they have faced and continue to face, including poor funding, competition from private sector, and motivated staff because of that poor, maybe because of funding. But I wish to assure them that we shall do our best with my colleagues to make sure that we confront these challenges with the assurance of a government that is interested in improving this institution, and I am sure they will respond to our appeals seriously.
The board members of Uganda Broadcasting Corporation include James Rwabura Tumsime, the founding chief executive officer of New Vision, former MP Tezra Jamwa, Hadija Nansanga Miro, a former electoral commissioner, Mike Okua, Richard Barunji, Major Christopher Obala Magezi, Sarah Namumbia, and Winston Agaba, the managing director. The sworn-in board members of Uganda Post Limited are former MP Suleiman Balyejusa Chirunda, Dorothy Batuli, Hussein Kashilingi, Richard Mwesiga, Herbert Chigundu Mugerwa, Lilian Aber, and James Sarinitwe, the managing director.
I have had the privilege of briefly scanning through the profiles of my colleagues, and I want to assure you that given the levels of competency, both professional and behavioral, we are going to do a good job, and we shall not disappoint your confidence in us.
Onyango Jackson, reporting for UBC.
Well, with the board inaugurated, we're optimistic that things should get better around here. Now, talk about a Heroes preparation, that's a Heroes Day preparations. 9th June will mark 30 years since Uganda started celebrating Heroes Day, a day that mostly lives of those that died in the liberation war that ushered in the NRM government are remembered, and as such, preparations to have a day colorful and underway. The president has approved 100 names of those selected to benefit from this year's Heroes Day medals. Estambayo, the Minister for Presidency, sends out a word of caution to intended beneficiaries to restrict their mindset of the wrong perceptions that medals should have a monetary attachment.
A lot of intervention has been done by the government to compensate the people who lost their dear ones, who lost their property. Now, yeah, once they are compensated, they want to be compensated more and more and more and more. So what I advise to those people who want to be compensated more and more and more, to sit and continue working for the betterment of this country, to use the compensation towards income generating activities. You know, the compensation cannot be turned up into a salary. Some people want to be given a monthly salary. A compensation is once off. The president has approved 100 names to be awarded medals, and it is the norm and the practice that those names are read on that day. So 100 names have been read, and they are going to get various categories of medals, ranging from Nalubali. So we are yet waiting for confirmation of a state visit, if any. And if there's any head of state that is coming, I will inform the public.
It's time for us to take a short break and return with more news. Stay with us.
Every dream has a challenging journey. Ours began in 1998 with a mission to drive the development of a robust communications sector in Uganda. We created structures to champion the dream. We've evolved, made discoveries, supported great minds, empowered Ugandans, and fostered a vibrant culture, enabling communication for all. Down the years, we've created memories and networks, uniting generations and building great partnerships. Together, we can go even further. UCC, celebrating 20 years of achievements.
Hello, my name is, as usual, Mr. Budget. Now, the major aim of decentralization is to bring services closer to the people. You see, majority of Ugandans are actually served by their local governments. The overall local government allocation for the next financial year is 3.8 trillion shillings. Good money, right? And 2.8 trillion shillings of this is recurrent expenditure, while 948 billion shillings is development expenditure. The big question though is this enough for local governments to bring services closer to their people? Let's find out together at the budget reading on the 13th of June 2019. Our budget, our responsibility. This message is brought to you by CS Bag, Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, and URA.
Welcome back. Still on the note of Heroes Day preparations, a government is to start giving an average of 100 medals to save time during functions that involve awarding individuals who have sacrificed for the well-being of the community in different ways. The Minister for Security, General Eli Tumine, says this year during Heroes Day, government is to reorganize and recognize people who have contributed to the peace, stability and prosperity of people in the country and are helping people to enjoy their livelihood.
Parliament enacted the National Heroes and Awards Act 2001 to start recognizing people who have sacrificed for the good of others in the past, present and future. Many people, including those who died, have been recognized. But how is this done?
Recognize those who fought Ebola, like the doctors. He was stood and risked his life and saved lives. So people bring those names. That's the criteria. The criteria is that people write about somebody, pass it through the RDCs. That is the method. Goes to the National Honors and Awards Committee, which advises the president. And then the president signs and awards those few.
The Minister for Security, General Eli Tumine, encourages people who have been consistent in doing these good things to continue. Although the numbers of heroes overwhelm that of medals, they will be recognized someday.
It is to encourage people to be willing to sacrifice for the future. Chino chechiseera mwetu ino kurwana. Don't have necessarily to stand in front of a gun to kill you that you want to become a hero. No. It is that little food you give to a hungry person and you make his day that we remember you as a hero for him. And then you give 10 people or you save 20 people who would have died or you save a situation.
The 30th Heroes Day is to be celebrated under the theme, celebrating the courageous people that have brought the peace and prosperity we enjoy.
Yes, celebrating those heroes who contributed to the present peace and security and prosperity which we are enjoying. And we want every day to be celebrating that, by the way. Remember them, think about them, be one of them.
Government this year is to give an average of 100 medals to save time. Celebrations will take place at Kasanje Town Council, Wakiso District. I'm Nafka Farida, reporting in Kampala.
Now, issues to do with Land Commission. A 62-year-old mother has dragged her children and husband to the land inquiry over the illegal sale of land comprised of Block 27 at Kibuga, Kampala. Living a selfless life, Eva Lubega told Commissioner how her life has been put at stake by her biological children, who are now taking her as an enemy. To the commissioners, the testimony provided by Eva, it sounded unbelievable.
Yeah.
The land inquiry has had shocking testimony from Eva Lubega regarding the sale of 3 plots situated at Block 27 Chibuga, Makerere Chivuru in Kampala. Lubega informed commissioners how her 2 children, without the consent of their father, sold off her matrimonial home. She said the act of her children ganging up against her is of great torture.
Why did they do what they did? Because the educators, they are not idiots. And that's what I wanted to ascertain.
Ekyo nakati nange nkyebuuza nze saasoma naye nafaayo nnyo ndabe nga abaana bange basoma naye bwe basoma osanga ekyo kyekisaanidde gyendi kuba nkyachebuuza nange nabakola ki simanyi.
Lubega informed commissioners that trouble started when her husband Ephraim Lubega mortgaged their 27-year matrimonial home in Housing Finance Bank at 380 million shillings loan, which he unfortunately failed to pay because of mental illness.
You gave birth to them, you educated them. How could they turn this way? We just want to understand.
Era nga ne kukyalo buli omwana nesinza nangamba Eva wesimye n'abaana bo ng'abaana kukyalo nga tekuli omuntu ategomba baana bange.
The responsibility was given to her two children, Timothy Muwonge and Enoch Matovu, who fraudulently sold it to Lawrence Mukasa.
Because when a child tells you that in the bank they speak English, what are you going to speak there? It means that there has been an environment.
The mother of 7 told commissioners how she has become prone to insults ranging from being called mad to an illiterate person. Although some evidence might not sound true, Eva testified how her children organized groans to strangle her to death. However, Justice Catherine Bamgemereire questioned her evidence, which according to the mother of 6 was the truth. According to information availed to the commission, the 2 sons, with the influence of a lawyer, forged documents indicating that their mother was mentally ill to allow them run the family business and, if need be, sell off the contested land. Weeping and remembering how she toiled to educate and raise her children, Lubega told the commissioners that since 2014, she has offered to pay back the money to Lawrence Mukasa, who expresses no interest in disposing it off. She has dragged the trio to court, but for 5 years, there has been no redress, hence coming to the Bamgemereire Commission.
Let your children know that they've got the best brain in their mother.
Sudat Kai reporting.
Government has been advised to allocate meaningful resources to local governments for improving rural feeder and access roads. Renowned economist Professor Augustus Nwagawa urges that farmers need good access to roads in order to be able to transport their produce to markets.
Over the years, government has made substantial investment in road infrastructure, and it has been seen as one way to stay economic growth and development. However, in some areas, feeder and community access roads are still a challenge, especially during the wet season. Since agriculture is still the major source of livelihood to the rural population, which constitutes 85%, it means that their incomes are affected if they cannot find ease in transporting their produce to the market. The maintenance of these access roads is the responsibility of the local governments. However, local governments mainly depend on the central government for financing, since most of them cannot generate enough revenue to cater for their development needs. A renowned economist, Professor Augustus Nwagawa, has now challenged the government to increase funding to local governments, especially in the area of road maintenance, in order to steer rural growth and development.
It's been taking one of the largest share of the national budget. So government has done very well in trunk roads. But now the challenge is on the feeder and community roads. And when we talk about markets, people need to access now the other trunk roads, and then they be able to reach markets. So we need now serious investment in community and feeder roads, so that now you link markets with production centers. And this is what is required.
Poor access roads do not only affect farmers, but also the general well-being of the population. Diana Kote, UBC.
Now, issues to do with Environment Day. As Uganda joins the rest of the world to commemorate the World Environment Day, government has been called upon to take a part and better stewardship towards responsible management of natural resources. Civil society environment activists under their umbrella body Lead Agency, Shelter and Settlement Alternatives have raised the concern over the lack of environmental friendly technologies to cater for conservation, resilience and sustainability in investment practices.
Uganda faces many environmental challenges as it strives to create a sustainable future for its citizens. Civil society environment activists under their lead agency, Shelter and Settlement Alternatives, have raised concern over the lack of environmental friendly technologies to cater for the conservation, resilience and sustainability in investment practices. Deterioration of the environmental quality arising from urbanization is negatively impacting on health, incomes, productivity and quality of life. The project officer, Shelter and Settlement Alternatives, Brian Paul Odera, says air pollution in Uganda has reached worrying levels that expose people to health risks, especially in Kampala.
Inclusive policy processes require that for the participation of all individuals as consumers and the producers need to be implemented to ensure safeguards are created against such obsolete technologies imported from developed countries.
Rapid urbanization is one of the most striking features of Uganda's economic development. The rapid motorization being experienced in Uganda and urban areas poses a big challenge to the environment.
Then we need to adopt better waste management practices through the promotion of the 4 R's. The first one being reducing. We have to reduce by adopting other methods. When we go for hotel activities, instead of using bottles for each participant, let's use aspects like dispensers. Refuse, when you go to purchase something, refuse the kavera, the plastic bags. And then we need to recycle and also reuse some of these plastics that are burnt and cause air pollution.
The energy used to facilitate production at industrial level causes high pollution levels that are directly exposed to the community, being a major cause of respiratory illnesses and cancers. To build sustainable and resilient cities and communities, the environmental activists are now demanding that government observe and enforce the fiscal planning policy to resolve the conflicting pressures on land use.
A restoration of vegetation on those lands. And the only way we can do restoration of vegetation on those lands is by, one, stopping the human activities, two, moving the human people from there, and then we try to do a restoration, which is not proven easy, both in terms of social attachments and the financial implications. But there are quite a number of organizations that are endeavoring to ensure that this is done.
The World Environment Day is a UN environment-led global event that takes place on 5th June every year and is celebrated by thousands of communities with awareness and action to protect the environment. Adiana Kute and Kalimenti Wanjira, UBC.
Time for business as we start off with Karamoja Mines. Mining companies in Karamoja are being accused of alleged exploitation and other mining-related irregularities. The local, particularly the locals, accused Tororo Cement for refusing to sign agreements with them and harsh treatment at the mining site.
This is how the trucks transporting the stones arrive from the quarry mining sites from the mountains to a local coordination office in Kisroy village, Tapat sub-county in Moroto district. They come while fully loaded with the stones, and on arrival here at Kisroy, they first offload the excess stones before setting off for Tororo. This is where the exploitation complaints draw in, because the locals claim that what is delivered at Tororo Cement offices in Tororo district is way less than what is purchased and loaded from the quarries.
If you get a
a load of 35 tons, they are paying 210. Is that money? And now, when they reach Tororo, they pay 120 per ton. How much is that money compared to what they are giving to the community? 150, 170. Those are the money they are paying actually according to the tons of vehicle. The highest tons, it is 35, the one of 210.
The truth is, you know, when you are a miner, you have got a license. You are supposed either to use machinery and do everything. And now, even if you go to Kosroe, I hope you can go one day. You see what is happening there. They have not even finished the stones from one side. They are just picking the top. Down there, they have not gone. So I feel we should renegotiate with Tororo. We should renegotiate so that we see how we can move with them.
They are also concerned about the failure by Tororo Cement to sign a memorandum of understanding with them that has put the lives of the miners at risk, including reports of death.
I mobilized myself. I mobilized leaders here. And we had a meeting in Moroto for 8 hours. And that's where Tororo accepted to have an MOU. That's why they said, yes, we can now write an MOU. We even put a timetable. But at a later stage, they jumped away and said, no, they are not signing anything.
People have lost their lives in the mining site. I can give an example. We lost somebody called Merinyang Simon Peter, which I know him very well. He's my uncle, which the company did not even do anything. And yet he was doing the work for the company. The company has a mining lease. We lost somebody called Lorika Panaribo on the same work of Tororo on those truck. Nothing, the company did not turn up.
However, according to Moroto District Police Commander, no cases of deaths or accidents at the mining site have been reported.
The issues we get from Tororo Cement, like I told you, their issues is the community says that they are not so much involved, but we have not had complaints of underpayments of people.
Efforts to get comments from Tororo Cement officials were futile as the officials at the Kisroy office declined to speak. However, officials from Resource Rights Africa, a non-government organization, say there's need to engage government and empower the locals on their rights.
With our work in Moroto, we've realized that these communities are not aware of these rights, of the laws that that are available to protect their rights, especially their land rights. So we are doing awareness campaigns, sensitization for the community members to teach them on these available laws, these available rights, to be able to empower them on the rights to defend themselves.
Philip Aguta reporting.
Now the budget is due 13th June 2019. We're counting just days. Now, as part of the National Budget Month initiatives, the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development has launched a Service Excellence Exhibition Week that is slated to run until 7th of June. The 3-day event brings together all government ministries and their agencies to showcase to citizens the services they offer as a way of accountability prior to the budget reading day come 13th of June 2019. The Prime Minister, Dr. Ruhakana Rugunda, was the guest of honor.
The day began with a 3.5-kilometer march from the city center to Kololo airstrip. The march was then followed by Dr. Ruhakana Rugunda, the chief guest officiating the ceremony, before he toured some of the ministries and agencies that were showcasing at the exhibition.
Today, the different government ministries, departments and agencies are exhibiting products, services and innovations that they offer, and how they have used the resources that were available to them in the budget for the financial year 2018-2019.
The Service Excellence Exhibition is a 3-day event bringing together all government ministries and their respective agencies with aim to interact with citizens, inform, educate and publicize the deliberations of the national budget whilst accounting for the work they have been doing in the just ending financial year 2018-2019.
Honourable Minister, the theme for our budget for the last 5 years or so speaks to employment creation. It speaks to shared prosperity. The private sector, in its understanding, has come to a conclusion that beyond profits, beyond making money as private sector, for us to be able to compete and sustain growth, we must look at shared value and promote social business.
We interacted with some government agencies and they shared a few insights on Uganda's tax matters.
The government is doing a good job in being able to utilize resources. Definitely there are improvements that can be made. Just like we know that there are improvements that are required within the communication sector, we're doing our best to make sure that resource utilization is at its best. We are improving the ease of doing business and to make sure that the investment into communication sectors can only continue to grow so that all the areas that are unserved, underserved or even hard to reach can benefit from this investment.
Our role in regulating oil and gas, we do it for the people. We aim to create lasting value for society. At the end of the day, Ugandans should benefit from the oil and gas sector. So as the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, we encourage the taxpayers to participate in the oil and gas industry.
Of course, money has never been enough, but we usually work around that to endeavor to get our cause reached to the people or to get our mandate extended so we do what we are supposed to do within the confines of the budget that we receive.
A total of 34.3 trillion shillings is the resource envelope for the financial year 2019-2020, up by 2 trillion shillings from the current financial year. Of the 34.3 trillion shillings, domestic revenue collections are expected to generate 18.3 trillion shillings. For UBC Business, Wadulo Makanda.
Time for finding out what's happening on the money markets, and more particularly in the forex markets, where we see the shilling for the longest period of time standing strong against the dollar by 3,700. The fairing today is 3,755.25. That is buying and selling at 3,765.25. And of course, it's also performing fairly with other currencies, as we see in this preview. Time to cross borders over to Sudan. The number of people killed in a crackdown on pro-democracy protests in Sudan capital Khartoum has risen to 60. Members of the feared paramilitary group are reported to be roaming the streets, attacking civilians. The violence began when forces of the Transitional Military Council opened fire on unarmed protesters on Monday. The military has faced international condemnation for the attack. An attempt by the UN Security Council to condemn the violence has blocked on Tuesday by China and backed by Russia. Now over to USA, of course, USA and UK. US President Donald Trump has said that US and UK have the greatest alliance the world has ever known. In a news conference with Theresa May, he promised a phenomenal trade deal after the UK leaves the European Union, but added that everything is on the table. May said the scope of trade talks had to be agreed by both parties. Trump also said he turned down a meeting with Jeremy Corbyn, who addressed protesters in Westminster. The U.S. president met Brexit party leader Nigel Farage on the second day of his three-day state visit to the UK. We start off with boxing and sports. Uganda Boxing Federation withdrew the national boxing team Bombers from camp ahead of All Africa Games due in July, Morocco this year. Moses Mohanji Federation boss claims insufficient funds to facilitate the players in camp forced his technical team to take the premature decision.
Not all is well for Uganda's most decorated sport, boxing, having been called out of camp where they were intensifying training drills in preparation for the All Africa Games. Uganda Boxing Federation President Moses Mohanji claims that the funds given to the federation through the National Council of Sports are inadequate to run the boxing annual calendar activities.
Why we had to stop this for now was because the monies coming through weren't enough to sustain us in the camp. Majorly because, one, the budgeted for resources never came through from the government, because our budget for this quarter was about 2.6 billion, of which only 53 million was released to us through the National Council of Sports. And it also came late, so by the time it came, we had so many commitments. We had incurred so many dates to keep the camp, because our camp was huge. Our camp had 64 boxers, and these guys are eating, they need allowances, they need medical attention, they need all these sorts of things, gym equipment, accessories, so all these things we had to incur costs for them. And by the time the money came in, it wasn't enough to really keep us going. So, and we couldn't continue incurring more other expenses. And
various agencies, not only National Council of Sports. So, in regard to that, National Council of Sports was compelled to trim the money given to Uganda Boxing Federation, just like all the other federations, from 125 million shillings to 53 million. And UBF is not the exception, but it's actually become the rule, because the same cuts have happened to athletics, to netball, and to basketball.
Mohanji says that the budget allocated for the Federation of Uganda Football Association FUFA is way higher compared to the rest of the federations, yet when it comes to results, footballers are underperformers.
The issue between us and football, one, everything they have said about football is not right. They don't have the biggest funds. That's not true. They do. What else have they said? I don't know what they don't. They're not the most popular sport. The most popular sport is boxing. That in the world, that's why the most expensive athlete is a boxer. Mayweather is the most expensive. It's not Ronaldo. It's not Messi. It's not any other person. The money Mayweather makes, Ronaldo will die dreaming about it. So you cannot say that football is the most popular sport. Even local here, all the funds that football has got, I've always told you this issue, there have been funds made out of the capital these guys have been getting from the government.
Approved to have a leadership and governance conference where there will be mentorship for all the federation heads, because sometimes the things they say and do let down sport.
Ismail further advised federations to lobby for funds from different corporate companies in order to cover up the financial gaps.
Still have to live within the means. That's why I think it's very important, and as council is something we've told many of the federations, that it's still very important for them to create lasting corporate relationships with corporate companies that can take a bit of burden. Government can push you so far, but it's impossible in today's world for government to do everything for sports federations. Government will do a bit, and then we expect the corporate sector to also make a contribution.
However, Ismail noted that National Council of Sports handed in a budget of 126 billion shillings for the next financial year, which was also slashed to 26 billion shillings, with 6.2 billion shillings allocated to the completion of the High Altitude Centre in Bukwa, with the rest to be shared between the different sports federations and National Council of Sports annual duties. For UBC, Helen Barbara, Gizamba.
And in golf, the notion that golf is a male-dominated sport is changing day by day. The celebrations of the International Women Golf Day, the introduction of school-going girls to golf, and the different lady tournaments are catching up in Uganda. Entebbe Golf Course joined the rest of the world to celebrate the International Golf Day, as we hear this report.
As the world celebrated Eid el-Fitr, the golf fraternity spent the entire day on different golf courses across the world celebrating the International Women Golf Day. In Uganda, the celebrations were in Entebbe Golf Club, where more than 100 golfers competed. Unlike before, it wasn't just competition, but rather orienting the girl child to different tactics of golf. 9 schools sent their girls, many of whom were seeing the golf balls and clubs for the first time. The orientation started with a tour around the prestigious Entebbe Golf Club, then the tools used in playing golf before teeing off on the drive. Entebbe Lady Captain Rita Appel highlighted the move of spreading golf to different schools, just like any other sport, and floating the mentality of golf being played by the rich.
We want to improve and increase the number of lady golfers, and I think we can do this by introducing the game at schools, and this is what we've tried to do since last year. Last year we enrolled Maryland high school girls, and they've been attending a weekly clinic here at Entebbe. It's been a year, and today they were able to play 4 holes. Some of them have actually improved quite a bit, and we are hoping that, with this approach, we are able to increase the number of girls playing golf over the years.
The euphoric experience of playing golf for the first time was all over the faces of all the girls, promising to take on the game, even after school.
Today what I've learned about golf is an interesting game. It teaches skills, calculations, how to put the ball into the hole.
Grip the golf club, and I learned how to hold it. And this is my first time to play golf, and it was amazing.
Sometimes there are difficulties, like you can hit a ball and it doesn't go straight, but if you keep on playing, you'll get the hang of it. You'll learn how to shoot the ball very well, and it will fight.
It was challenging, but I managed to get a score of 61, which is actually good for my age. It was okay, and the greens were cut, and I enjoyed it, but I got tired when we were almost done.
Uganda Golf Union introduced holiday golf circuits to the young ones as a move of promoting the game. Father Ngabo Amon, reporting for UBC TV.
Speaking like experts already. Now about the Royal Regatta. This Saturday's Royal Regatta has been boosted by Pearl Seeds that have offered mobile phones as part of the treasure hunt at this weekend's final at Nabugabo Sand Beach, Masaka. The treasure hunt is a new initiative that gives fans an equal chance to win either television set offered by Star Times or one of the numerous phones donated by Pearl Seeds. Organizers say that its application will be a piece of paper hidden somewhere at the venue, and when found, the lucky person wins and receives whatever is written on it. This reward will be handed over by Kabaka Ronald Mwende Mutebi, who is expected to grace the finals, at which the 18 counties have confirmed to send their teams. Pearl Seeds official Cliff Richard Masagazi says they chose phones because without communication, this world is nothing. And of course, that does it from us here on News Tonight. From the entire team, we truly appreciate the effort and for you choosing UBC and News Tonight in particular. Before we sign out, let's have the recap on our headlines. Museveni pushes for space technology research with Russia. Landslides kill 6 in Bududa. Government is to scale down heroes' medals to 100 only. On the international scene, Theresa May, Trump disagree on China. In sports, a phone offer from Pal Seeds boosts the Royal Regatta. Once again, it is a pleasure to have you join us every single day. My name is Patricia Lokoma, and proudly on sign language we were joined by Mohammed Mogisha. We appreciate your joining us. We'll right now leave you with the weather, but can't forget to say good night.